We love to celebrate creative genius, don't we?
Yeah.
Those awe-inspiring inventions, the breathtaking art.
Oh, absolutely. Who doesn't love that?
But have you ever noticed how much we focus on the outcome, the finished product,
Yeah.
and not so much the kind of messy, fascinating process behind it?
Yeah, it's like we want to believe those masterpieces just kind of magically appeared, fully formed.
Right, like we skip all the hard work and the dead ends and all that stuff.
Mm.
But what about that workshop, where the magic actually happens? What's going on in the creator's mind as they're wrestling with ideas and experimenting with different tools? That's what we're diving into today, the nitty-gritty of how digital tools are transforming the very way we think and create.
Yeah, because let's face it, the creative process is becoming more and more digital all the time, whether we're, designing a website or composing music or even just brainstorming solutions for work.
Totally. And to guide our deep dive today, we're going to unpack some fascinating PhD research.
Oh, cool.
Now, before you think, oh, no, not another dry academic paper, trust me, this one is different.
Okay.
It's packed with surprising insights into how different digital environments impact our creative flow.
And what's so intriguing about this particular research is how it goes beyond just design. It's really about problem solving, something we all do every single day, right?
Absolutely.
Every single day.
So if you've ever felt stuck in a rut, hit a creative wall, or just wondered if there's a better way to kind of unlock your innovative potential, this deep dive is for you.
So this research really dives deep into a concept called epistemic action, which sounds kind of like a mouthful.
Yeah.
But it's basically a fancy term for how much we use our hands and physical actions to solve problems.
Okay.
So think about like rearranging furniture in a room
Right.
versus just moving like icons around on a screen. They feel different, right?
Huge difference. When I'm moving actual furniture, I'm engaging more of my senses.
Yeah.
I'm like almost intuitively figuring out the best layout.
Right.
Is that kind of what they're getting at?
Exactly. And the research suggests that this difference in tangibility, that hands-on aspect, it can significantly impact how creative we are.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. The research also delves into cognitive load. Basically, how much mental effort are we using? And they actually borrowed a tool from NASA to measure this.
What?
Yeah, it's called NASA TLX.
Wow.
Apparently, some tools make our brains feel like they're running a marathon,
Yeah.
while other tools help us, just kind of cruise along effortlessly.
Interesting. And I'm guessing the way we interact with those tools, whether it's hands-on or purely digital, plays a big part in that cognitive load we're experiencing.
You got it. So are you saying that using the right tools could actually free up mental space for those aha moments?
You got it. And there's even more. This research also looked at fixation.
Okay.
That frustrating feeling of getting stuck in a creative rut, like repeating the same ideas over and over again.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I swear, sometimes my brain feels like a broken record player.
Well, it turns out the tools we use can either make that feeling of fixation worse or actually help us break free from it.
Okay.
And the research suggests that those tools that encourage more of that hands-on interaction might be the key to unlocking a more flexible and more fluid creative process.
Okay, I am hooked.
Mm-hmm.
So how did they actually study all of this?
Good.
They focused on two digital environments I think you've probably heard of: augmented reality, or AR, and virtual reality, or VR.
Right. And before you tune out thinking, well, I'm not designing the next hit video game,
Yeah.
remember, this is about more than just entertainment.
Right.
These technologies are rapidly changing how we work, how we learn, even just how we navigate our everyday lives.
Totally. To understand how AR and VR affect our creativity, they had people design rooms in both environments. But there was one crucial difference. The AR group actually got to physically move around furniture models, like they were rearranging a real room.
While the VR group used a mouse and a computer in a simulated 3D office space, same task, but very, very different ways of interacting, and that is where things get really fascinating.
So the big question is, did this difference in tangibility, in actually using your hands to create, lead to different creative outcomes? We'll dive into the juicy details right after a quick break. All right, we're back, and I'm ready to hear how this design showdown between AR and VR actually shook out. Did grabbing virtual furniture actually lead to more creative ideas?
Okay, so get this. The research actually found that the designers using AR didn't just come up with different ideas, they came up with more innovative solutions, the kind that really push the boundaries of, traditional office design.
So it's like that physicality of AR, of actually using your hands. It helped them break free from those mental ruts we were talking about earlier.
Exactly, exactly. And remember that NASA tool for measuring cognitive load?
The TLX thing?
Yeah. Well, the AR group consistently scored lower,
Interesting.
meaning they were using less mental effort even while tackling the same design challenge.
Wow, that's huge. It's like our brains are actually wired for this kind of hands-on creativity.
It really is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And remember how we talked about linkography, that method of like mapping how ideas flow?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the researchers saw such a fascinating pattern emerge.
Okay, lay it on me. What did these idea maps actually reveal?
So the AR group's linkographs, they looked like these sprawling, interconnected webs with ideas kind of branching out in all directions. They were exploring a much wider range of possibilities and making these really unique connections between different design elements.
Well, the VR group, I'm guessing, was a little more linear, straight and narrow.
Precisely. Their linkographs showed a lot more signs of fixation. Those really tight, clustered patterns that kind of indicate getting stuck on one particular idea without fully exploring alternatives.
So even though they were working in a simulated 3D environment, the lack of that tangible, hands-on interaction, it seems like it really limited their creative exploration.
And potentially even tired out their brains a little bit more in the process. It's like the difference between, say, sketching out ideas on a giant whiteboard versus trying to, like, rearrange furniture in a dollhouse. It's a different kind of engagement.
Totally, totally. Okay, but how do we take these findings, out of the design studio and apply them to like our own lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right. What if, instead of just staring at our computers all day, we found ways to like inject more of that hands-on, tangible interaction into our work?
Yeah.
Could that help us unlock fresh perspectives,
Yeah.
break through those creative blocks?
I think so. I really do. Imagine like brainstorming sessions where you're physically moving ideas around on a wall, using Post-it notes or even just like drawing them out.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different way of engaging with information.
Totally. Or what if instead of defaulting to yet another Zoom meeting, we try collaborating in like a more hands-on interactive way?
Yeah. And some companies are already starting to experiment with, virtual whiteboards and these shared digital workspaces that allow for more of that real-time, collaborative creation.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities.
It is.
But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We still have more to unpack from this research, including how people actually felt about using AR and VR. Do they actually enjoy it? Were they like eager to keep using these tools? All that and more after the break. Okay, so we're back. And I gotta say, my mind is already buzzing with all these ideas for how I can like inject more hands-on creativity into my work.
Yeah.
But before we get like too far ahead of ourselves,
Right.
we have to talk about the human side of all this tech. Did people actually enjoy using AR and VR for design?
It's a great question because even the coolest tool is useless if nobody wants to use it, right?
Exactly. So what did the research say? Did people actually like using AR and VR?
Oh, it probably won't surprise you to hear that the AR group gave it a resounding thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they found it more useful, easier to use, and said they'd be much more likely to incorporate it into their design process in the future.
That makes sense to me. It just seems so much more intuitive to actually like move things around in space
Yeah.
to get a feel for how things fit together.
Right.
Did the research look into whether people's learning styles like played a role in this preference at all?
They did, and they found that while AR was popular across the board, people who identify as kinesthetic learners, those who learn best by doing, were especially enthusiastic about it.
Oh, wow.
It was like the tool just clipped with their natural way of processing information.
Makes you wonder if we should be tailoring our tools more to individual learning preferences, Yeah. Maybe there's no one-size-fits-all approach to boosting creativity.
It's a fascinating thought, and it speaks to like a larger point about the future of work and learning. As these technologies become more sophisticated, more accessible, we have this incredible opportunity to create more personalized, more engaging, and ultimately more effective learning experiences.
So what's the final takeaway here? Should we all like ditch our computers and start designing everything in AR?
Not so fast. It's important to remember that this research focused on a very specific task: interior design. We need more research to really see how these findings translate to other fields, to other activities.
Fair enough. But it definitely has me rethinking my own relationship with technology.
Yeah.
Maybe we should all be a bit more mindful of how the tools we use are shaping our thinking, our energy levels, and ultimately, our creative potential.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that tools aren't neutral.
Right.
They can either amplify our abilities or they can hold us back. So the next time that you hit a creative wall, maybe try putting down the mouse, step away from the screen, and just engage with your ideas in a more hands-on way. You might be surprised by what you unlock.
Great advice. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of digital tools and creativity. But the conversation doesn't have to end here. We would love to hear your thoughts. Have you noticed a difference in your own creativity when you switch between hands-on and digital tools? Head over to our website or social media to share your experiences and keep the conversation going.